run through players nonstop, and this is, we didn't know what map was lost for in-game between F and I, but we can only imagine that it started in round number 2 on Exhibit.
I want to say, and I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to assume it was Training Grounds, as I know F and I, like that is their map. It has been for a long time, but still Exhibit, as you mentioned, don't know the exact scoreline when it came down to
That's
it.
what I'm saying. I'm saying in-game was, they won on Exhibit.
Sure. And one thing that you have to keep in mind, too, when you look at both of these rosters, is that they have played 2 different times in Emergence days. That was Week 6 in the finals, of which that was a victory for Rise Nation. It was actually Exhibit that was game number 2. Rise managed to take that 5 rounds to 3. So in terms of their prior history, Rise actually has won on this map, but it has been some time. And then the second time that they actually faced off was in Week 8 semifinals. Rise Nation also managed to walk away with that victory as well, and that was a 2-1 win. Both Training Grounds and Asylum were involved. So, like we said, Rise Nation looking great as of recent, but the storylines are here. But now, we'll see how Rise Nation can fare versus in-game's definite preferred map choice as Mental tries to come up close, and he's silenced pretty easily there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mental was that star player that I was pointing out. Specifically, when we got that last match between F and I, Mental was running through that team on Asylum. They were looking poised. They were looking solid. I'm impressed, though. Rise Nation has done a great job sticking together as a team, and that team fire, you see it just peppering explosives and his other teammates. And a trade will take place. That's not the worst situations for Rise, as they continue to get pickups as well as slaying out. They're going to retake Bravo, and they're also going to maintain that point lead. They're going to be all over Charlie. They're going for the trip cap, and yeah, that's 5 down. Endgame, they're not going to have an opportunity. They're not going to spawn up. Rise Nation starts off very strong. Just under 2 minutes, they take round 1.
And that's what you want to see, right? A roster like Rise facing off against in-game's definite preferred map choice. You look at the eliminations as well. Shaka Vexies was 7. That's a very solid start. Like we said, a game mode of which, or rather a map, they don't feel the most confident on, at least in terms of against a roster like in-game, considering that they have won prior, but still, and maybe we could even flip it, right? Is it not necessarily a game where Rise Nation is saying, oh yeah, we definitely need to take this one? Probably the opposite, right? In-game, this is the map where you cannot afford to lose, considering the way that Rise Nation has looked as of recently. If you look at their past 5 weeks, right, post-change where they bring in different staff, they obviously bring in new players in NZM, exactly. They have had 3 championships and 2 top 4s.
That's powerful.
The only roster they've lost to, Reciprocity. Yeah. That's it. That's the only team that they have lost to, which we could see another rematch when it comes into the grand finals, but this isn't even a team that they have struggled with, which is scary to think about. In in-game on the other end, we talked about those amazing highlights for Rise as of the last 5 weeks. For in-game, at least in terms of the last 2 that they have played in, top 4, top 8. Yeah. Not at all the numbers that we would expect. And like I said, months ago, these numbers were totally flipped the other way.
And you know what I'm very curious about? With, obviously, NRG releasing the roster and now the roster being under in-game, or at least with the name in-game, I'm curious how much that's going to motivate this roster to perform well and kind of show, like NRG, hey, you shouldn't have dropped this. We're still a championship team. Their performance at San Diego, maybe not what was expected, but it was still very respectable.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, when it does come to in-game, you're talking about champions, the most storied team in Gears history. And I'm curious to see how they're going to perform, especially going into Mexico. And if these next coming weeks, right, we have 3 more Emergence days. Ryan pointed this out before Mexico does happen. Will we see in-game start to tighten up that roster, tighten up the gameplay, and start to broaden their map pick? That's been one of the things, right? They've had way too many auto bans. They've kind of been trying to fix that overall. They've been playing well in scrims, but when it comes to the, whenever it comes to the Pro League or it comes overall to Emergence days, they've been struggling. That's a fact. Yeah. So overall, in-game, this could be their week. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping they step it up. I want to see that NRG that was so powerful, at least in the beginning, that everybody feared in the beginning weeks of Emergence days.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing for this roster right now. Motivation, for sure, in terms of recent placements and obviously in terms of the organization situation as well. A team that definitely wants to get back on firm footing heading into Mexico. Currently, good start for Endgame so far throughout round number 2. As you can see, they're distancing out Rise Nation a solid amount. Keep in mind, player 0, that's going to be Summons. Somewhat on the flank. It could definitely cause some problems. Has to reference back, and for good reason, why he's got 3 players on his tail. Rise Nation quick to shut him down, as that's going to be 2 falling for endgame. Avexi's can nearly make it 3. In limbo, and Praise will be back to finish him off.
And also looks like it's going to be a 1v1. Yeah, there was Mental being pinned up between Shock and Enzim. Enzim will get the best of him. Shock now pushing back Praise. And these are a couple of big kills that are needing to happen, specifically with in-game being so close to 200. You notice they still win, even though Rise Nation has Bravo and Charlie. The break on A has to happen, and it's got to happen soon. They have enough team members, but they're allowing in-game to spawn back up. They've got to apply that pressure, and they basically have one more push here, or else in-game's going to take this max out at 250.
We've seen in-game actually in the reverse of this situation so often. Can they be the team, rather, that holds on and plays solid defense? Avexy's getting taken down. Drix is as well. That's going to be Solar's picked back up as he's firing on all cylinders. And keep in mind what Summons is doing. He's prepared to rush back over towards C if things go astray. And that doesn't seem to be happening all that much as a current 2 versus 2. Hold on. Enzim, he'll break off with 2. Like we said, that one player, that's going to be Summons, did reference back. He gets the cap on C, and that may save them. However, take in mind the score. A and B is
Drix.
up. Summons is down. 241, and nobody's going to get there in time. A massive clutch up for Rise Nation. We talked about it in-game. They have been in the reverse of that situation so many times, and Rise Nation just did what in-game used to do to other teams.
Wow.
Summons was on the rotation. He was hoping that his roster could hold on for just long enough. That doesn't take place, and Rise wins 2 huge team fights on either side of the map, Taylor.
That is shocking to say the least. That is devastating. In-game had that round in the palm of their hands. The only win condition for Rise was to get the break on Alpha. They made that happen, but like you said, Summons rotating out, getting that break onto Charlie himself. I thought, at least whenever I was watching it,
oh yeah, I thought it was over.
I thought it was over, right?
Sure.
But in the end, it just wasn't. Rise Nation coming off the spawn ended up taking him out. The people held it down for at least 30, 45 seconds onto Alpha. Phenomenal work for Rise staying composed and stopping in-game very close to capping out 250 or like 240 or so. Let's see if in-game will let that round go, because that's a tough round to lose. And Rise now leading 2-0 and winning the initial of A and B. Let's see if they can continue to push forward. Maybe take the first half convincingly.
Solid beginning for Rise. We'll see, like you mentioned, if they can keep it up. Question remaining on in-game. Once you start to go down 3-0, that's when the questions start to arise. The opposition's already halfway to the ending score. Shot grenades are out. That's going to allow for Praise to easily hop inside of B. Distancing back the boys of Rise, at least for now. Retake is in. Time, points, getting ready to go back in in-game's favor. However, Avexy's not ready to lose this one just as of yet, as Avexy's will come through, carve up Praise, along with a little bit of assistance from his teammates. The retake is in. The shots are as well, and there goes Summons. Now a near 2 versus 1. However, that will be player 8 deciding to back up. Reference back is explosive. And he just takes down Detox. Trades everywhere right now, Taylor.
Yeah, that was a big win, and that one even bigger onto Avexy's. That opens the door to get onto Bravo. Shock, there's not a lot he can do. Maybe Lancer Fire, but it's not going to be enough. In-game will retake B for themselves. They'll close that deficit of about 10 points or so. And Rise Nation, coming off of spawn, now has to kind of reconfigure their setup and how they want to go about this. Still, you see the kill feed lining up red in-game, looking very solid. Enzim being put on skates. Praise backing up. Shock does come through, and that's going to be the drop. Nice kill for Praise.
He's got
go ahead and focus attention onto Drix. He can't get out of there. He goes down. And now in-game, they're pressuring up. They're applying all the pressure they possibly can onto this side for Alpha. They might be going for the trip.
It's a good look for in-game. Great stuff so far. A near pinch opportunity. Praise is the other side of it, and actually does get taken down. Mental will be there for the overall trade. That's going to be in-game, starting to force the issue at the very least, getting some visuals. Pulling out those binoculars at A, watching the spawns from afar, and Mental, a lovely shot just around the corner. Every player giving a solid call out. Not over here, not over here. Everyone's down. Walk away with the round, but I'll tell you what, man. It should really be 2-1 the other way. In-game, they're just happy to finally be able to put one up on the board, as now this is a big swing run coming into the last round of the first half.
And a really good composure from in-game, applying that pressure, getting away, a series of kills, pushing up just a little bit, getting another series of kill, retaking B, and then pushing up one more series of kill, boom, opens up the door to go in for the trip cap. Good composure from in-game, and really good pacing overall. Impressive stuff. That's the in-game that I expected to see on this map, which I would call, in-game's map. I mean, like I said, the exhibit should very well go into in-game's hand, but no, we're going to be on the last round of the half. Rise Nation, if they take this going into the second half up 3-1, that's going to be huge for them.
Rise Nation has showed us the secret to beating in-game is by, or rather, if you want to 2-0 them, the secret is by beating them on exhibit. That has to be the case. Explosive up close, great work done as players dropping from either side, but the majority falling for Rise Nation as that will be a quick 3 down. And Explosive now just looking for vision that's going to guarantee his team after that team fight win. The ability to hold on to B. Keep in mind, players from Rise Nation off of spawn possibly going for what is going to be an up top push. They're actually going to distribute 3 over here. Smoke is out. And in-game, they're fine to pretty much fade away if necessary. Very interesting push from Rise. Not normally do we see retakes, especially at this point in the game. Over at this perspective, keep in mind, Vexy's the man that we have on screen, also at 1 respawn. Obviously, this will be the last round of the half, but still yet. Gets picked up, dropped yet again, as that will be 2 falling despite the shot grenade. The electricity definitely flowing through in-game's veins.
Yeah, great overall. I think, you know, when it comes to team fire, that was spot on. That was perfect. Avexis had nowhere to go. He got dropped before he even could make a push. You know, the push up top, like you said, pretty unorthodox. We see maybe, you know, 1 or 2 players go up top, but to send 3, maybe even 4 up top is a bold move to say the least. And Rise, they push in-game back, but at what cost? They haven't been able to retake B. You see the point lead now growing ever so much so, as I believe by the time in-game reaches 200 points, Rise Nation's probably going to be at like 105, 110. Yep. That's not enough. In-game should easily be able to take this round. They're in control of respawn economy. Avexis just gets dropped. He's now out. It's a permanent 5v4, a massive lead for in-game. Rise Nation, they're kind of lost. I think this round is chalked up.
Keep in mind, Summons, even if Rise Nation were to make a big pick, they are relying on him to possibly go for what could be a late decap. He said Summons the one guy to be looking out for, so he'll have to back up. In-game, pretty much just parking the bus as of right now, trying to force the issue inside the own home hill. Shock manages to escape, but only for a short time. Takes down Praise, but is it enough? And it will not be. Not enough players to distribute throughout the map, as Rise Nation will, unfortunately, at least in their case, lose back-to-back rounds. In-game evening things up, and like we said, not too surprising to see these guys come back, but the first 2 rounds, you know, for a lot of different rosters, I think you look at, you know, the opposite side and say, wow, they've got to be tilted right now. They've got to be really struggling after a loss like that. But this team, no matter the hardships that they've faced, no matter losing organizations, no matter recent placements, this is a group of veterans, Taylor. And
sure,
despite what could be just a game score, these guys, if any, are going to bounce back faster than pretty much anybody else could.
And they absolutely could. But on the other end, though, you have Rise, who could very much so take this game too.
Definitely.
So it's the shoes on both feet right now. You got to be thinking to yourself, this next breakout is going to be pretty massive. And it's not really about gaining control of B. Like, that's good off the start, right? Getting that point lead, that minor point lead, if you will, or excuse me, of E. But we're on the second half. But regardless, it's about gaining that, establishing that positioning. And you do notice in-game's backing up quite a bit. They're almost baiting Rise Nation to kind of throw their hat in the ring and get onto E.
Both teams maybe not super comfortable with the initial, or maybe that's just what they want us to think. Lancer fire down from Shock. Nothing found. Vexy's at least is looking for some information, as he'll hold the advantage, at least when it comes down to that top perspective. Solar's firing out a few shots, but nothing landing. Maybe the weight of this round relies on the least amount of players toward a particular area. 1 versus 2 for Avexis. Is he aware? He's about to be now. Takes down Explosive officially. Is trying to hold on. Solar's, he's looking for a pick. He's looking for any damage that he can do. But Avexis, this is where he thrives. Flashbangs up close, and Avexis does, in fact, win the 1 versus 2 instantly on the flank of in-game, and he's causing havoc. He's causing problems. Praised, not aware. 2 versus 1, and Avexis is involved in every single fight on the map. As in-game, they're starting to struggle. The snap of a finger and Rise Nation are instantly causing issues. Explosive, however, starts to throw his hat in the ring as well. That's a fine 2 in a row. Hopping on E shortly, you'd like to imagine a big sequence coming in here from in-game as Explosive gets met with a nade from across the exhibit. That is lovely coming in from Shock as everybody's having a highlight moment.
Rise continues to lock in E. Explosives. I absolutely thought that was going to push Rise back. In-game was going to push forward like they traditionally do, but that instant made all the difference in the world onto E. Now you see Rise fighting back. They're still in control of 2 hills for themselves. 164 and counting to 125. As now the OE looks like it is, in fact, going to be taking place. All Rise needs just a couple of more kills. The pickup is, in fact, going to happen. But Explosive will unfortunately take himself out with the Ensign. And another Ensign comes through for Detox, and that's going to be 5 down. Rise Nation, they're going to take this round 3-2.
What even was that round?
What
What happened there? Like it looked like totally Rise dominant. Then we start to see Explosive just turn up, and my word,
You know what
literally,
the weirdest
definition back
thing?
and forth.
The
Yeah.
weirdest thing about that, Landon, was we saw how long it took them to get
yeah.
onto E, and it almost seems as if, like, at first I thought in-game was backing up, right, and they were kind of baiting out Rise to push forward, and then they were going to collapse down on them. But maybe it was Rise Nation just taking so long that in-game was like, what are they? Are they going up top? Are they going for the flank? Are they, pushing? Are they going for the OE? What are they doing? And in-game kept backing up and going forward. Maybe they had no idea what Rise was up to during that point in time.
It very well also could be disrespect for either of the two. You don't want to try to be the first person to push out. Aggression can instantly be countered from either of these teams, as Energy shows us, or rather, Endgame rather, will show us exactly why that's the case. And speaking of aggression, unfortunately, Avexy's man is known for that exact play. Will get met along with Shock, who tossed out a lovely Ensign the round prior. Now gets greeted with one as well. Praised. Excellent Lancer fire in the backside, as this is looking all but over for Rise Nation. Straight dominance being displayed from Endgame. Avexy's toying around. Shock is as well. They don't want to let this round go, but it just seems as if that's going to be the case. However, keep in mind, Shock does find one, but not going to be enough as Detox tries to blitz on through the fastest round so far of this game. That's what you want if you're a fan of in-game.
I'm not going to lie. I think Rise just had a couple of lives to throw out regardless. They were at 4 out of 4, but if you were sitting at 3 out of 4, there's no reason to respawn back up. But
sure.
I think there's nothing lost for trying, but in-game did a great job off that initial. They immediately got over to the home hill of Rise Nation. They established dominance. They slayed out, and that was just going to be it.
The one thing that for me is interesting is that Rise Nation wins a very crucial round that gets them to 3 off the back of an intense 1v2 from Avexys. This round that we just witnessed kind of relies on the fact that Avexys falls in the early stages. Not that Avexys will be the key component for future rounds, but that just goes to show the weight that he kind of has on his shoulders for this Rise Nation group. The way that he plays is so impressive and clearly showing signs of aggressiveness off the start. He falls early, but does get the pickup. His good old buddy Enzem. Therefore, the revive and shot grenades everywhere as Avexys on his 3rd down eventually will be dropped, and now that's going to open up the door for Mental. But what a shot from Enzem, showing some love. Says CSGO, okay, well maybe you should go back to that game. Enzem
landed.
That's the gamer tag. That's
baby.
Enzem talking.
I love it. Yeah,
that's words talking through gameplay. Right
Enzem not holding anything back. You love to see it. Rise Nation now in control momentarily in game, thinking, all right, what's our next push? Where's our next plan of attack? And it seems as if maybe they're going up top too. Is that 3 people up top? Well, at least 1 for sure. As one's going to be retaking E. There's that battle up top. There's going to be Mental and Explosive. So it's going to be 2 up top. They've been spotted. Meanwhile, the battle down low was taking place. Praise was the one to hop into E, maybe to get the neutralization. He didn't get it. Detox took him out. He helped Summons out, and he'll go ahead and backtrack to retake E himself. Good job from Rise overall for just holding that pressure down, right? Holding that push from in-game back. And by doing so, that solidified a nice size lead.
Round starting to progress. Mental in-game. Starting to have that spread up top. They've got 3 players established. Praise actually not one of the ones to lead the charge, actually providing some Lancer fire from afar. Mental up close, trying to do some damage into the back of Direct, manages to do so as they'll quickly begin to earn some map control. And we're talking solely about just positioning, not the objective, at least as of yet, as Rise currently in control of E. And Detox pretty much has some visuals on the other 3 members from in-game, and Enzem will get a nice 3D look at the opposition as he will begin to falter. Now this is in-game beginning to cause some problems, starting to siphon in, and they'll retake the objective at E, but that's a must. That's going to need to be a force over at D as well. We saw this happen just a few rounds ago. Can in-game hold on the one hill? They have to for the time, as Mental actually hops on in the shot grenade. He'll be taken down. Drick's receiving the effects from it as well. But nonetheless, Rise Nation, they're just trying to hold here. Can they keep it up?
Oh, they need to get this finish on Praise. And they do, in fact, at least get one finish, but look at that. Praise Summons pushes through. The domination coming in. There's going to be a break, though. Solars able to get the final kill onto Shock. Another break coming through. Rise able to get a touch. It's not going to be enough. And in-game will, in fact, take this round right underneath Rise's feet at 230. It just wasn't enough. I got worried. I'm not going to lie. When you pointed out, right, Landon, in-game started going for that push. Rise Nation was on the back pedal. Rise Nation, they do a great job at holding down that mid-control, holding down E. But as soon as they started backing up and in-game just started applying that pressure, I was like, this might be the final push. Yeah. And in-game might be able to take this, and they did just that. Anytime you see a team backpedal and try to just defend their home hill, you normally spells a lot of trouble, and that's what ended up being the case. Rise Nation, that would have been a big round to take to be leading 4-3, but unfortunately, they're going to be on the receiving end of that 3-4. They now need to step it up 2 rounds in a row. Let's see if they can do it.
It's going to be necessary for this team. Like we said, Exhibit, a prime pick for endgame. Can they lock this one up here versus a team that they have struggled to take down on back-to-back occasions? Rise, can they force the ever-interesting round number 9? We've talked about the presence of Avexes, what he means for this team. We're about to find out why that's the case. Early engagements down and finished. Mental doing the work as he'll be traded. Enzim as well, also on all fours. And it looks as if for endgame, they're trying to play ultra careful. Mental still has yet to be picked up. Finally does get brought back into the fray. Shock, a lovely toss. Actually will separate Solars so he cannot run through, at least for now. He has to stay on one side of the flames, and that's a 2 versus 1. And that Shock coming into great usage. He's also playing the medic. A massive play coming in from Rise Nation's Shock, as now it's going to allow for Rise to have a lot of visuals that also gives them full control over at E.
Great stuff. I thought that Ensign was going to at least pick, or Ensign rather, was going to be able to pick up 3 people, or at least 2. The fact that it got 1, that's okay, but like you said, it spaced him out enough for him to be able to at least go through and get at least the second kill. One of them got away, but regardless, that gave Rise positioning on the map. Now they don't need to let it go to waste. Look at these 2 players getting sneaky up top. That could open up a door. If they can pick off, what is it? It's going to be Enzim as well as Avexes. They pick him off. That opens the door onto F.
There you are.
And a couple of kills will be taking place. Look at Praise, right? Praise takes out Detox, also gets it down, and the finish onto Drix. In game, they're starting to come here.
And you see the confidence they're starting to have. They're starting to try and push over at Rise Nation's home hill, knowing the current score. They need to do this here and now. Explosive, the captain trying to do some work. Unfortunately, he'll be dropped. And in the meantime, Rise, not too much damage done, all things considered. You look at the minimap in our top right, and you see no players from endgame currently past that 50-yard line. The only player contesting for it is going to be Solars and Shock. He'll receive the fury of trying to do so. Detox, everybody up close. Oh, Detox walks away with it, picks up Enzem. Rise instantly will go for the cap back at E. A huge situation for them, and if you're endgame, you have to make a play happen soon. Considering you're down, considering you're also spawning so far back, and it looks as if Taylor players actually starting to toy with the idea of spawning up. I'm not sure if they're convinced this round is theirs either.
No, I think Endgame's making the right decision. They've got to play the longevity game, right? They need as many lives as possible going into the tiebreaker round, all tied up 4-4. Rise Nation, it all started with that initial, coming out strong, ended up taking over a couple of kills off that corner, especially with that Ensign. That was a big play, right, to finish off 2 players that opened the door to push in-game. Back in-game, really never got out of their spawn from that point forward. Rise Nation kept them at bay. And now we're going into the tiebreaker round in a game that in-game should 100% win, at least on paper, coming into this. And now Rise Nation is toying at the fact that they could take off at least in-game favorite map, best map overall to play on. Yeah. This is a big moment for Rise, but in-game is very much so still in there. But I do believe, and I'm going to see it specifically whenever we go into the overall respawn count.
Yeah.
I want to say Rise Nation has the advantage by a small margin. I know a couple players are going to be at 2 out of 4 on in-game. So as we take a look, yeah, the lowest player on Rise is going to be Detox and Avexis out of 3 out of 4. You look at the side of in-game, and then you only have one player, right? It's going to be Mental, 2 of 4, but the rest 3 of 4 and then 4 of 4. So regardless, though, Rise Nation, they have a little narrow margin. So if they start to slay here, short respawns, in-game could be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely could. Like I said, an intense round to say the least. A huge one if you're in-game, all things considered. This being your map choice in the way that games have gone as of recent. 2-0 in terms of overall series. Most recently in week number 8, Rise Nation won that one 2-1. And it just so happens that Training Grounds and Asylum were 2 of those maps. That happens to be our final 2 for the series as well. Big moment for Endgame. Let's see if they can pick it up, and let's see if they can hold on. Exhibit is their home. Praise targeted out from afar as Drix. He's happy just to earn some visuals as a big up top fight. Summons able to take that one on who? Avexis, the main aggressor for Rise. Taken down off the break, and that's going to instill his explosive. Takes down both Inzim and Detox. That's 3. Rise, they're already starting to feel the presence. They're already starting to feel the power. Domination nearly inbound. Avexis, can he even get through the flames? It looks as if no, it's not going to happen. Inzim on the 1-yard line cannot make it inside his own home hill to try and delay. And like in-game's name, we discussed, the snap of a finger and the round is over and the game is theirs as they will win this one by the narrowest of margins. But that last round, Taylor, that just goes to show this team's craftiness and their instant ability to walk away with games.
You mentioned it in previous rounds, and it was Avexis dying off the start, right? He was the main